Ladies and gentlemen, we have been told from childhood, be kind, be humble, be generous. And yes, kindness is a beautiful trait. It is a language the deaf can hear and the blind can see. But let me tell you something, if your kindness is costing you your peace, your self-worth and your strength, then it is no longer kindness, it is self-destruction. How many times have you said yes when your heart screamed no? How many times have you exhausted yourself just to keep others happy? You give and you give and you give until you are left with nothing. And still the world asks for more. Not because kindness is wrong, but because misplaced kindness will break you. You were not born to be a people pleaser. You were born to shine. But how can you shine if your light is constantly being dimmed by those who take without gratitude? Kindness should not mean forgetting yourself. It should not mean being a doormat. If people respect you only when you are useful to them, then that is not respect at all. That is convenience. And you, my dear, were not created for someone else's convenience. Set boundaries, say no, walk away when necessary. It is not selfish to protect your energy. It is not cruel to choose your well-being over toxic relationships. In fact, it is the greatest kindness you can show yourself. Because when you start valuing yourself, the world will learn to value you too. So stop being kind to those who drain you. Stop being kind at the cost of your peace. Instead, be kind with wisdom, with strength, and most importantly, with love for yourself. Kindness is often seen as a virtue, a quality that reflects compassion, warmth, and selflessness. It is one of the most beautiful aspects of being human, our ability to extend a hand, to offer a smile, to give without expecting anything in return. The world is in desperate need of kindness, and in many ways, it is the glue that holds humanity together. But there is a fine line between kindness and self-destruction, and too many people cross it without even realizing it. We are taught from a young age to be kind, to be giving, to be understanding. We are told to think of others before ourselves, to always be generous, and to never turn our backs on those in need. While these lessons are valuable, they often come without balance. What happens when kindness becomes an obligation rather than a choice? What happens when the act of giving leaves you with nothing left for yourself? There is a dangerous misconception that kindness means endless self-sacrifice. That to be a good person, you must always put others first, even at the cost of your own well-being. This mindset leads to exhaustion, resentment, and in many cases, a deep sense of emptiness. Because the truth is, you cannot keep giving when you have nothing left to give. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Imagine a candle burning brightly, lighting up the room for everyone else. But as time passes, the wax melts away, and eventually, the flame flickers and dies. The candle has given all it had to give, and now there is nothing left. This is what happens to those who give too much of themselves without replenishing their own energy. They burn out not because they are weak, but because they have given beyond their limits. Too often, kindness is mistaken for an unlimited resource, something that can be drawn from without consequence. People assume that as long as you are kind, you will always have more kindness to give. But kindness is not infinite, it requires balance, just like anything else in life. If you are constantly prioritizing others at the expense of your own happiness, your kindness is no longer a gift, it is a burden. Many people struggle with this realization because they fear being seen as selfish. They worry that if they stop saying yes to everything, they will disappoint others. That if they establish boundaries, they will be viewed as unkind. But true kindness does not mean self-sacrifice. True kindness includes kindness to yourself. It means recognizing your limits, understanding your worth, and making sure that you are not depleting yourself in the name of generosity. There are people in this world who will take advantage of your kindness. They will come to you with open hands, ready to receive. But they will never think to give back. They will expect your time, your energy, your emotional support, but they will not offer the same in return. These are the people who mistake kindness for weakness, who see your generosity as something they are entitled to. And the more you give, the more they take. This is why kindness must come with boundaries. It is not unkind to say no. It is not unkind to protect your peace. It is not unkind to take care of yourself before you take care of others. In fact, it is necessary. Because when you allow yourself to be drained, when you give until you are empty, you are not helping anyone, you are only hurting yourself. Kindness is meant to uplift, not to destroy. It should never be something that leaves you feeling exhausted, used, or unappreciated. It should not mean neglecting your own needs in the process of meeting everyone else's. True kindness comes from a place of abundance, from a heart that is full, not one that has been emptied by constant sacrifice. Kindness is one of the most powerful gifts we can offer. It has the ability to heal wounds, mend broken spirits, and bring light into even the darkest places. A kind word, a thoughtful gesture, a moment of patience, these things can change a person's day, sometimes even their life. But while kindness is a beautiful thing, it is not something that should be given away carelessly. Not everyone deserves your kindness, and not everyone will appreciate it. Some will take it for granted, while others will use it against you. There is a common belief that kindness should be extended to everyone, no matter what. That no matter how someone treats you, it is your responsibility to remain kind, to always give, to always forgive, to always be the bigger person. But the reality is, not everyone has good intentions. There are people who see kindness as a weakness, who interpret generosity as something to be exploited rather than appreciated. Kindness is often seen as one of the most admirable traits a person can have. It reflects a heart that is open, compassionate, and willing to help others without expecting anything in return. In a world that can be cold and unkind, choosing to be kind is a sign of strength, not weakness. But too often, kindness is misunderstood. It is mistaken for submission, for naivety, for an inability to stand up for oneself. And when kindness is misinterpreted in this way, it opens the door for people to take advantage of it. Being kind does not mean allowing others to walk all over you. It does not mean saying yes to everything, tolerating disrespect, or sacrificing your own well-being to make others happy. There is a difference between being kind and being a doormat. A kind person helps because they want to, not because they are afraid of rejection or confrontation. A doormat, on the other hand, is someone who gives endlessly, not out of choice, but because they feel obligated to. People who mistake kindness for weakness often push boundaries. They test how much they can take before you push back. If you are always available, always saying yes, always putting others first, some will assume that you have no limits. And when you finally say no, when you finally set a boundary, these same people may become upset. They may guilt trip you, call you selfish, or act as if you have done something wrong. But the truth is, if people only respect you when you say yes, then they never truly respected you in the first place. Kindness should never come at the cost of self-respect. There is nothing wrong with helping others, but it should never mean allowing yourself to be used. A kind person values their own time, their own energy, and their own well-being just as much as they value the well-being of others. They know when to give and when to step back. They understand that saying no does not make them a bad person, it makes them someone who respects themselves. The world often teaches people, especially those with kind hearts, that they must always be agreeable, that they must avoid conflict, that they must never disappoint others. But the truth is, not everyone will appreciate your kindness. Not everyone will treat you with the same respect that you give to them. And if you continue to allow people to misuse your kindness, they will see it as permission to do so. It is not unkind to stand up for yourself. It is not unkind to walk away from people who take advantage of you. In fact, standing up for yourself is one of the greatest acts of kindness you can do, not just for yourself, but for others as well. Because when you show people that kindness has limits, you teach them how to truly appreciate it. The strongest people in the world are not those who never say no. They are not the ones who bend over backward to please everyone. The strongest people are those who know their worth, They give, but they do not allow themselves to be taken for granted. They love, but they do not tolerate mistreatment. They help, but they do not allow others to drain them. Kindness should be a choice, not an expectation. It should be given freely, not demanded. If someone only values you when you are doing things for them, then they do not truly value you. If they only respect you when you say yes, then your kindness is being misused. And no matter how kind you are, you do not owe your energy, your time, or your peace to anyone who does not respect you in return. Kindness is often spoken of as an endless well, something that should be given freely and without condition. We are taught from a young age that to be good, we must be generous. That love means sacrifice. That friendships require constant giving. But what happens when that generosity is taken for granted? What happens when kindness turns into exhaustion? True kindness does not mean giving until you have nothing left. It does not mean allowing people to drain your energy without regard for your own well-being. Protecting your heart is not selfish, it is necessary. If you keep giving without limits, people will keep taking without gratitude. That is the reality. There will always be those who see kindness as something to be exploited rather than appreciated. They will not stop taking as long as you continue to give. You must set boundaries not only to protect yourself, but to ensure that your kindness remains meaningful. If you never say no, if you allow others to take advantage of you, your kindness will lose its value. It will no longer be a gift, it will become an expectation. And once something becomes an expectation, it is no longer appreciated. Some people will never acknowledge the sacrifices you make for them. They will take your time, your effort, your love, and they will assume that it is owed to them. They will come to you when they need something, but when you need them, they will be nowhere to be found. If you do not set boundaries, you will find yourself emotionally drained, constantly giving and rarely receiving. Protecting your heart does not mean closing yourself off from the world. It does not mean becoming cold or unkind. It means understanding that your energy is valuable. It means recognizing that not everyone deserves access to your kindness. It means being selective about who you invest in, who you trust, who you allow into your space. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. It is a way of teaching people how to treat you. When you make it clear that your time is precious, that your kindness is not to be taken for granted, you will begin to see who truly values you. Those who respect you will honor your boundaries. They will understand when you say no. They will not make you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. But those who only saw you as a source of convenience will react differently. They may become frustrated. They may call you selfish. They may try to guilt-trip you into continuing to give without limits. That reaction is proof that they never truly valued you, they only valued what you did for them. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your kindness, or your energy. You do not have to explain yourself every time you choose to say no. Your worth is not determined by how much you give to others. When you set boundaries, you are not pushing people away, you are making space for those who truly appreciate you. You are ensuring that your kindness is given to those who value it. You are protecting your heart so that you can continue to give without feeling drained, used, or unappreciated. People will take as much as you allow them to. That is why you must set limits. That is why you must guard your energy. That is why you must protect your heart. Because kindness is only truly meaningful when it is given with love, not obligation. And if you do not protect your heart, no one else will. From the time we are young, we are taught to be kind, to be considerate, to put others before ourselves. We are praised when we make people happy, and we feel guilty when we disappoint them. Over time, this conditioning can turn into a dangerous habit, the habit of people-pleasing. We say yes when we want to say no. We go out of our way to meet everyone else's needs while ignoring our own. And in the process, we lose sight of who we truly are. Living to please others is exhausting. It means constantly measuring your words, your actions, and even your emotions to ensure that no one is upset, no one is disappointed, no one is uncomfortable. But the truth is, no matter how much you try, you will never be able to make everyone happy. People's expectations will keep changing. The more you give, the more they will demand. And one day you will wake up and realize that in your effort to please others, you have neglected yourself. Seeking validation through kindness is a losing game. There is a difference between being genuinely kind and using kindness as a way to gain approval. When kindness is authentic, it is given freely, it comes from a place of love, strength, and self-respect. But when kindness is used as a tool to be liked, it drains you. You become trapped in a cycle where your happiness depends on how others perceive you. And the more you rely on external approval, the more powerless you become. People-pleasing is not kindness, it is self-betrayal. It is silencing your own needs to make others comfortable. It is pretending to agree when you disagree. It is smiling when you feel like crying. It is making yourself small so that others feel big. And in doing so, you teach people that your feelings do not matter, that your boundaries do not exist, that your voice is not worth hearing. But you were not born to live for others. You were not created to be a constant source of comfort for everyone else while neglecting yourself. Your life is meant to be lived on your own terms, in alignment with your own values, not as a performance for the approval of others. The moment you stop pleasing everyone, you start living. You begin to discover what truly makes you happy, not what makes others happy. You realize that saying no is not selfish, it is necessary. You start making choices that align with your dreams, rather than choices that prevent others from being disappointed. And most importantly, you stop feeling guilty for putting yourself first. Not everyone will like you when you stop bending to their expectations. Some people will call you selfish. Others will be upset that they can no longer control you. But their reactions are not your responsibility. Their disappointment is not your burden to carry. Because the people who truly value you will never expect you to live for them. They will respect your boundaries, appreciate your honesty, and support you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. There is a difference between being kind and being a people pleaser. True kindness does not require you to shrink yourself. It does not ask you to exhaust yourself for others. It does not demand that you sacrifice your happiness for the sake of keeping the peace. True kindness starts with yourself. It is standing in your truth, honoring your own needs, and living a life that reflects who you really are. You do not have to prove your worth through self-sacrifice. You do not have to keep saying yes to be loved. You do not need the approval of others to live the life you deserve. The only validation you truly need is the one that comes from within. For far too long, many of us have been taught that love is about sacrifice, that to be a good person, we must always put others first. We are told that prioritizing ourselves is selfish, that choosing our own needs over someone else's is wrong. And so we become experts at pleasing others. We say yes when we want to say no. We shrink our dreams to fit into the expectations of those around us. We silence our voices so that others remain comfortable. But in doing so, we lose the most important relationship of all, the one we have with ourselves. Self-love is not selfish. It is not arrogance. It is not a rejection of kindness or compassion. It is simply the understanding that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's. It is the decision to stop compromising your own peace just to make others happy. Because the truth is, you cannot truly love others if you do not first love yourself. A heart that is constantly drained, constantly neglected, constantly put last cannot continue to give indefinitely. Loving yourself means choosing what is best for you, even when it disappoints others. It means setting boundaries even when people push back. It means making decisions based on what aligns with your happiness, not on what prevents someone else's discomfort. If someone truly cares about you, they will want to see you thrive, not just exist in a cycle of self-sacrifice for their benefit. There will be people who expect you to keep giving without limits. They will say you have changed when you stop prioritizing their needs over your own. They will make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. But their reaction is not a reflection of your worth, it is a reflection of their entitlement. If someone only values you when you are doing things for them, then they never truly valued you to begin with. Your well-being is not a compromise. You do not have to trade your happiness for acceptance. You do not have to keep bending over backward just to be seen as worthy. The right people in your life will respect your choices, even when those choices do not benefit them. They will support your growth, even when it means you have to say no. Because real love is not about control, obligation, or guilt. It is about mutual respect, understanding, and care. The moment you choose self-love over pleasing others, everything changes. You begin to reclaim your power. You stop waiting for permission to live the life you truly want. You start making choices that nourish your soul, rather than drain it. And in doing so, you set a standard for how others should treat you. Because when you love yourself, you no longer tolerate anything less than what you deserve. People will tell you that you are being too harsh. They will say that you should be more understanding, more forgiving, more willing to compromise. But compromise should never come at the cost of your own mental, emotional, or physical well-being. You can be kind without being a martyr. You can be compassionate without being a doormat. And you can love others deeply without abandoning yourself in the process. The greatest act of love you can give the world is to show up as your best self. And that can only happen when you stop giving pieces of yourself away just to keep others comfortable. Self-love is not an act of rebellion, it is an act of survival. An act of healing, an act of choosing yourself. Not just once, but every single day. Walking away is never easy. It takes courage, it takes strength, and it takes a deep understanding of your own worth. But sometimes walking away is the only choice that will save you. Because not everyone you meet in life is meant to stay. Not everyone deserves your kindness, your time, or your heart. And the longer you hold on to people who misuse your kindness, the more you drain yourself trying to fix what was never meant to be whole. Real strength is not in enduring endless mistreatment. It is not in proving your loyalty to those who do not respect you. It is not in sacrificing your happiness just to maintain a connection. Strength is in knowing when to let go. It is in recognizing that some people are only in your life because they benefit from your silence, from your inability to walk away, from your willingness to always forgive, even when they do not deserve it. There are people who will take your kindness for granted. They will see your compassion as an opportunity to manipulate you. They will test how far they can push, how much they can take before you finally break. And every time you let them stay, every time you excuse their actions, every time you convince yourself that they will change, you are giving them permission to continue. You are teaching them that your boundaries are flexible, that your self-respect has limits, that your love for them is greater than your love for yourself. But love, true love, should never require you to suffer. It should never demand that you stay in places that make you feel small. It should never ask you to compromise your own well-being just to keep the peace. If someone truly cares about you, they will not force you to choose between their presence and your own happiness. You have to be strong enough to walk away, strong enough to release the people who no longer serve your growth, strong enough to understand that some relationships are meant to teach you a lesson, not to last forever. You cannot keep waiting for someone to become the person you hoped they would be. You cannot keep sacrificing your own needs just to keep them from leaving. Because sometimes the greatest act of self-love is choosing to leave first. Walking away does not mean you are weak. It does not mean you are giving up. It means you are finally choosing yourself. It means you are refusing to be mistreated, undervalued, or taken for granted. It means you are done explaining, done proving, done hoping that things will change when deep down you already know the truth. Some people will never understand why you left. They will call you selfish. They will try to make you feel guilty. They will remind you of all the good times, all the memories, all the reasons why you should stay. But do not let nostalgia keep you trapped in a cycle of pain. Do not let your history with someone convince you that they belong in your future. A connection that comes at the cost of your peace is not worth holding on to. Walking away is not about them, it is about you. It is about protecting your heart, reclaiming your time, and honoring your worth. It is about surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, who respect you, who love you without conditions. You do not have to keep proving that you are a good person by staying in situations that break you. The strongest thing you will ever do is choose yourself, even when it hurts, even when it is lonely, even when you are unsure of what comes next. At the end of the day, your kindness should never come at the expense of your self-worth. Walking away is not a sign of weakness, it is the ultimate act of strength. It is choosing to honor yourself, to protect your heart, and to reclaim the energy that has been wasted on those who never truly valued you. You were not put on this earth to be used, to be drained, or to be a source of endless sacrifice for others. You were meant to grow, to thrive, to be surrounded by people who see your worth without demanding that you prove it. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. And when you finally have the courage to walk away from what no longer serves you, you will realize that you were never truly losing anything, you were simply making room for something better.